So what we did last episode of, I don't know if you were here last episode. If you're here, can you throw your hands at me last episode so I know how many? Okay, I have one, two, three. At least three people were here last episode. So do I have to go back to last episode again, or should I just start where I left off? Okay, I have a few people. But anyway, last episode, we talked about spiritual development, kind of laid a foundation on it. If you're here, maybe your first time in, I don't know what this spiritual development is. If you can just go download our app or go to online, and you're able to listen to the previous message so that you can know where we're going. So recently, this past week, I had a privilege to go to Washington, D.C. Every time when we go there, we visit one of our churches there we're part of, so I was able to minister last Sunday. But that weekend, my wife likes to do a Segway tour. Some of you probably know what Segway is. So Segway is kind of like two wheels, and it has a handle coming up to the chest level, and then you hold it. And the way Segway works is like when you kind of yield towards forward, and then the Segway start moving forward. When you kind of pull backwards, and the Segway goes backward. And the way Segway works, unlike a bicycle, you cannot handle like this. You got to do left or right to turn left or right. It's a very beautiful thing. If you have done it and you know what I mean by that, it's awesome feeling. So we just love to do wherever we go. Me and my wife loves to do that. So she looking for a Groupon. She found a good deal. I said, let's do this. And isn't that awesome? Like when you go to a town or city somewhere, if you walk through the whole Washington, like monuments, like Capitol, White House, and Lincoln Monument, all of them, it takes at least, when you walk through that, at least half of the day, maybe a full day. But in Segway, you can do in 2 hours. I said, I love that idea. Let's just do it. So we were on a Segway going through White House and praying over the White House. We're going through Washington and Monument, and we're praying there, and the Capitol. We're kind of going different places. So something had happened, and I want to talk to you about that. I had to put it in my sermon so that you can experience what I experienced it. Because I'm so comfortable with Segway, because I'm so comfortable, I can take selfies, I can do like this, and I can ride faster, and I'm so observant. I have a helmet on me. I'm having a great time. So this particular time, we're going through a Pennsylvania Avenue. If you know Washington, D.C., Pennsylvania Avenue is a highly, traffic area, kind of like you have, I think, 3 lanes, and you have a biker's lane, and you have walking lane, and you have another lane. I don't know what the lane. So our tour guide said, hey, listen, do not get into either left or right because you're going to cause accidents. So make sure that you stay within your course, and we have a signals that we have to pass through it. So when you come to green light, just speed up so that you can pass the signal. So I said, okay, good deal. So I end up starting going back off everybody because I want to make sure my wife is safe. So I don't want to, cause any damage to my wife. So I want to protect her. So I was behind my wife, just making sure I'm enjoying. And I'm enjoying the tour going, and I saw people were speeding up, and I spat. And there's a moment where then all of a sudden I came to a situation, everybody slowed down, and I lost control. I'm trying to slow down. I'm trying to take the next lane. If I would take the next lane, I'm going to become a wind ornament or the windshield ornament for somebody. So I don't want to do that. I'm making all this decision in a few seconds. And if I can take a left because there's a biker's lane, and I only have a few, maybe like 2 feet to make a decision, and then probably like 10 or 20 feet to make a decision. And as I'm making my decision, so what do? I should not hit my wife, because if I would hit my wife, we both will hit the floor. And in that process, I did something. I don't know what I did, but I did. I guess I'm still here, so I did a good thing. But anyway, I did something that I hit edge of my wife's Segway, and bam, I hit the floor. And first time I looked at the Pennsylvania, the road, and then everything, like I have like a very close-up experience with the what's it called, like man, I forget the word. The payment, whatever you want to call it. Like, then I saw, oh my God, this is made in China. But anyway, that's not made in China. I just made up, this is so rough, So I picked it up. My Segway was completely dead. The tour guy came up and fixed the Segway and start going forward. And I had a little accident here, and I started bleeding. And I paused as I was going through the rest of my tour. I started thinking, I said, what did go wrong here? I know how to run Segway. I'm watching my speed, and I know I've done this before. But one thing I did not feature in, it was one factor that was missing, the missing factor was the location. Because I did it in San Antonio doesn't mean I'm going to do it right in DC. Because I've done it in New Orleans, that doesn't mean I'm going to do right in DC. So the location was different, even though my wife is there, tour guide is there, I know my way around, I have a helmet, everything. And just the one factor missing caused a huge, accident for me. It's the same thing in the spiritual development. Have you ever find yourself sometimes, when you talk about God, you're like, I know about God. When you somebody say, hey, you need to pray. I know how to pray. And somebody will tell you, you need to fast or you need to look for help. You say, all the time we'll say, I know what to do it. Don't tell me what to do it. I got His control. I can figure this thing out. And we always, think we can be so confident in every level of our life. But unfortunately, life does not bring you a pleasant situations all the times. There's some factors constantly changing in your life, in my life. And that's exactly happened to me. And all of a sudden there was a wake-up call for me. I said, okay, I need to learn something to do better, especially when I'm in Washington, D.C. and maybe learn, the traffic, how the traffic works and all that. It's the same thing in life, but as you're going in life, we need to develop our spirituality constantly. Because if we don't develop, what happens is we become a procrastinators or we become a complainers. Have you ever seen some people? Like the other day I was talking to an older lady at Walmart, and I said, man, it's a beautiful season because I love this part of the season of the year. I mean, as soon as September ends, October, November, December, holidays coming up, we're gonna get to eat a lot of food. We're gonna eat a lot of cookies and good clothing. It's just a shopping, everything is just so awesome. So I was telling, man, it's a great season. She goes, whatever, it's a boring in San Antonio. I said, seriously? I mean, you need to have a life. But this lady probably had a hard life going through. So when we don't develop your spirituality, what happens is we become grumpy. We become kind of complaining, murmuring, and we don't have life really enjoying it. And that's why God put this in the scriptures, that you need to grow in grace, grow in faith. Because if we don't grow, we become staggered, we become kind of dysfunctional. And I've learned something, whatever it does not grow, it just dies. So that's what happens, and that's why we want to focus on next few minutes to help you to develop spirituality. Some people probably wondering, what is spirituality? Spirituality is who you are. We are spirit, we have an emotional part of it, and we live in this body, and that's who we are. So if once you identify that, and when everybody know how to go to gym and take care of your body, take care of your emotions, but the most important thing is to take care of your spiritual side of it. And that's where it's important that when you develop it, then you have a kind of a game plan that where you're going and how to get there. So what we're going to do is next few minutes talk about that, how to develop spirituality. What if we have a recipe? Imagine that. What if we have a recipe that tells everything how to do it? And I thought, man, this is a great way to look at it, the entire scriptures, and put it in a perspective where that you can learn within 4 or 3 points that starting today. So whatever I'm going to bring it to you, it's not just my opinion. It's not just I made it up. It's really actually worked in close to 3,000 people. 3,000 people cannot be wrong. And also every single patriarch in the Bible went through the similar stages of how to develop spirituality. So let's just define how to develop it. In order for you to develop spirituality, number one element that we need is faith. Because faith is the only one will help us to develop spirituality. Bible says there's a lesser faith, weak faith, great faith, greater faith, and all kinds of levels of faith. So you need to grow in different levels of faith. As you grow in different levels of faith, then you're able to understand life, you're able to understand your future, your present, your past, and you're able to make changes effectively because you're growing in faith. But a lot of times when we ask this question, how do I grow in faith? And we immediately think, maybe I need to pray more, maybe I need to go to church, maybe I need to do all these things that we're supposed to do, and that's when faith will grow. But I found out there's another way that the Bible teaches us, that if we can have this systematic way to jot it down in our life and start doing them today, and we're able to grow enormously, like we're going to grow spiritually and develop our spiritual senses and grow in faith quickly. So before we're going to jump on that, I want to give you a kind of thought process to think through with me for a few minutes. It's the notes that I have here is there's the things you do increase your faith. Just think about that. People always ignore those kind of little things that we do. Everything you do either increases your faith or decreases your faith. And that's why it's important to know, what are we doing every day of your life? Are we wasting our life? Are we wasting our time? Are we wasting our resources? Things you do affect your faith, because once your faith is increasing in any level, I mean, like, you can do extraordinary things for your family, extraordinary things for yourself, extraordinary things for the community and the kingdom of God. I mean, you can do great things, but what you do every day actually, affects your growth rate, affects your spiritual growth rate enormously. So the other thing that I found out is that you can always educate a doer, but it's very difficult to activate a thinker. Have you ever thought of, like, man, I'm going to help so and so? There's so much thinking kind of person. They don't want to do it. The Bible actually is a very powerful book in the planet right now. And scriptures are amazing, but those scriptures only work for those that do. I mean, like, if you just listen and just kind of go home, I said, man, I had a great time at the church. I think, the guy was good or whatever. Man, the lights were great. The worship was awesome. It doesn't really help us if we don't do it, what we learn every day. It doesn't help us. So I believe it's so much easier to educate a doer. If you find somebody that's doing something, you can educate them quickly because they have the attitude of doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into this. I call them dynamics of that. These dynamics will help us to how to grow faith, how to develop our faith, how to go to the next level of your life. Everybody in this room want to grow. Is that right? Right? Am I talking to the right church, right? Yeah, we all want to grow, right? Any level. We want to grow spiritually. We want to grow relationships-wise. We want to grow in areas that we do better. We want to grow because that's the part of life. If you don't grow, you're not going to be encouraged or excited about who you are. You're just going to feel like you're the only one doing life. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into those 4 things. And last episode, we dealt with a few things. And the first one, dynamics to grow your faith, is application knowledge. Knowledge is so good, but knowledge itself puffs you up. Have you ever seen some people, they're so educated and they cannot even solve a small problem? I don't know, you ever came across this kind of people, but they're highly educated. Even they've done studies, people that came from big universities, when you give them to do something, they have the theory part of it, but when it comes to doing part of it, they don't know how to do it. But what I believe, the Word of God helps us to understand that the trajectory of your life completely changes when we do this application knowledge. And the application knowledge is what this means is it's information, and the application will bring a transformation. Any information you learn, any song you listen to, any magazine you read, anything that you're learning, if it is not applicable, it just becomes just a trash kind of thing. It just sits there like you can't even use it. So information and application is a transformation. Think about that. That's awesome. Like any information, if it's not applicable, I don't even think about it doing it. If it is applicable, I'll do it. If not, I can't do it. Check out this. Spiritual maturity is not gauged by the knowledge, but it is gauged by application. Now, you look at somebody who's spiritual, they're constantly doing something for the kingdom of God. They're either witnessing to somebody about Jesus, or they're serving the church, or they believe in the cause of the church, or they're funding the church, or they're giving their tithe. Something about them, they're doers of the body of Christ. And that's how you call them a spiritual maturity. Spiritual maturity always comes as you're doing something with your life. And the second thing we learned last episode is intentional discipline. This is a discipline that a lot of times we're lacking in our community, that we don't want to have intentional discipline. We're just like, whatever will happen, happen. But you can change your future by investing in intentional discipline to your life. Because, one day you can wake up and thinking, man, if I would have done this way, I would never had this day today. And it's right. If you would have done differently back there, you would not have to see the present that you're seeing today. Same thing, if you're intentional today, your future can be so better. Your future can be so awesome. You can actually avoid a lot of, headaches, a lot of wasting your time, a lot of wasting your money. All of them can be avoided with the intentional discipline. But the primary thing is relationship with God. It's so intentional. And I spend, quality of time every day. Just spend time with God. Just talking to Him, because your personal relationship with God is your public boldness. That's what happens. Your personal relationship with God is your public boldness. If you don't have that personal relationship, and it kind of drives you crazy, because this is what actually puts us into a perspective where we understand what God is doing through us. We understand what God is imparting in us. Because if this relationship is right, and this relationship always will get better. If this relationship is not right, this relationship will not get better. So those are two things we learn. But today and the next few minutes, we're going to be focusing on the personal ministry. So the dynamics to grow your faith, not only the application knowledge, not only the intentional discipline, but also personal ministry. What is personal ministry? Personal ministry is like your personally understanding who you really are. Everybody that's listening, everybody that's watching, everybody that's here, we all have a purpose. And you're not just pop into this world for nothing. God brought you here with a purpose in mind. And once you discover that purpose, what happens is you feel content for your life. You feel like you're fulfilling your life. You feel like your marriage is going the right direction. You feel like you're accomplishing something. Everybody, knows when a team wins, especially we're in a football season, when team wins, have you ever seen the energy in the stadium? Everybody gets so excited because somebody won, because they accomplished something in their life. So same thing with your personal life. When you accomplish something with your life, with the personal life, you're just going to be so excited about next step. You're so excited about what God can do through you, because that's what happens in a personal ministry. Every one of them have to cultivate that somehow, because that will help us to develop our spiritual maturity, develop our faith. You want to grow in faith, and it starts with your personal ministry. And I learned this because the thing is, when we serve God, especially serving God's purpose, we all serve different areas and different levels, because we serve our families by going to job, and serving our community by taking care of some things in the community. And we serve in every level. You serve yourself, taking care of yourself. But I think to me, serving God's purpose is a secret sauce for authentic purpose. Have you ever thought, man, if I would know exactly why I was born, if you can answer that question without having any shadow of doubt, you have arrived into a place of absolute clarity. Imagine that. If your life is so making sense to you, like this is why God made me, this is who I am, this is the direction I should go, then immediately what happens is you're not comparing with people, you're not trying to think about doing that or this. You just narrowed your field exactly where you need to go. And that's exactly what Jesus did. When Jesus came into this earth, He was not confused man. He was not sitting around, maybe today I will do this and tomorrow I will do this. No, He knows exactly what He's going to do today and tomorrow. Because why? He learned himself. He learned from his Father that who He was and what is His purpose. So I believe that when you serve God in any level, like if you serve God in any level, and I think that is your secret sauce to find out who you really are and your personal purpose. And I've talked to a lot of people that serve God. They have, they don't know how to explain. They say this way, what do you feel when you serve God? They say, well, I just feel like I'm fulfilling my life. I just feel like it's like a contentment. I just feel like I'm doing something good. It's just a great feeling they have, everybody that serves God. So if you're not serving God today, or maybe you just, churchgoer doing whatever you're doing, start thinking about it. Man, I'm gonna do something with my life to help others so that we can be a blessing to people here. And I'm going to share a story in the Bible, and this story actually helps us to see in a different perspective of discovering your purpose. There's a person called Daniel, and a lot of Christians know know who Daniel was. Daniel was an incredible man, a man, God used him very effectively, that the man could tell future. Can you imagine that? The man could prophesy what could happen tomorrow, and that kind of gifting came to this man. But let's look at the life of this man, why he could able to do that extraordinary things with his life. Because Daniel was one of a young Jewish man when they were captivated by Babylonians, and they took all the Jewish people into Babylonia and the Babylonians kingdom and captured all the smart and educated men, and they started adopting, giving them adoption to kind of enhance the Babylonian kingdom. So they finally hired this boy to be one of the governors in the higher departments. Like, imagine that this person is working with the king. I mean, like, he's directly working with the king, and he has a great relationship with the king. It's like working with the president every day. And that kind of position he accomplished by knowledge that he had. And one day what had happened was, along with him, there were other 4 leaders thought, they did not like Daniel. They said, man, Daniel is so trying to get everything right. He's always right, and the king loves him, and king gets his attention all the time, and he gets his attention all the time. So we're so tired of Daniel. Let's just put Daniel down. Have you ever find sometimes there's some people, when you always do good, they're trying to push you down. They're trying to throw you under the bus. And it's the same thing happening in Daniel's life. But Daniel did not care. He was just doing his thing. What Daniel would do all the time is he would worship God 3 times a day. He would worship in the morning, he would worship in the afternoon, he would worship in the evening. And he will do that every day of his life. So they said, if we can create a law to let him stop what he's doing, let him stop worshiping God, man, we can get Daniel really good. So those 4 governors approached a king called Darius, and they said, King, we need to do a rule here, because if you can create a law, and that will be helpful for all of us, and the law should be no man should worship any other god next at least a few weeks or few months, and no other man except the king. And the king Darius thought, man, that's a great idea, let's just do it. So king signed the contract and signed that law and executed that law to the entire nation. Daniel knew about that law, but Daniel is not going to change worshiping his God because somebody else told him otherwise, because Daniel knew the valuable things is to worship his God and what he believed in it. So Daniel was worshiping his God, and the law was given to the entire nation that if anybody does, anybody worships other gods other than the king Darius, we're going to put him in a lion's den. Guess what? Finally, they found out Daniel was not worshiping the king or worshiping the man or worshiping what they said to worship. And they found Daniel, they captured Daniel as he was worshiping towards Jerusalem. And they brought before King Darius. And king was so surprised because, remember, king likes Daniel. King loves Daniel because he's got a great wisdom. But king could not even do nothing because it's a law. So king told Daniel, I'm so sorry, I can't do anything. Now we're going to put you in the lion's den. And I want you to think about this lion's den. This lion's den is not cute, like a Madagascar kind of lion's den. It is really troubling, brutal, and vigorous lions. Then, I mean, these lions, they don't feed those lions all certain seasons so that they can be so hungry. As soon as you put somebody in that lion's den, these lions will jump on that person and devour into pieces. And that kind of lion's den. And they threw Daniel in it. Can you imagine that? Imagine if somebody puts you in the lion's den and you become a breakfast taco for a lion today. Imagine that. Imagine that the lion is going to say, Lord, thank you for this taco, and then I'm gonna consume it. A lion could be praying there, ready to eat you up. And Daniel was, become a victim for doing right. And that's awesome to know. I mean, God is a perfect God. He's looking at the whole thing. And Daniel walks into the, lion's den, and immediately King Darius came and said something to Daniel. And I want you to see what he said. This is what King Darius said. King spoke. I'm not Daniel. Daniel was so quiet and experiencing what's going on. King spoke and saying that, Daniel, your God whom you serve continually. And look at the confidence the man King Darius had on Daniel's devotion towards his God. I mean, the people who do not know you know something about you by your actions, what you do every day. And this is what King said. He said, He will deliver you. He said, I'm a king, I can do everything, but I cannot help you right now. We're in a situation, this is so bad and troubling. I want to help you, but I cannot help you. But I do know something about you because you're so good. You always worship your God so faithfully. And now I believe that God that you serve will deliver you.
To watch or listen to the full sermon, please download our CJC Life app to your mobile device. Also go to CJCLife.com to find more information.
We exist for 4 reasons. Number 1, we exist so people will know God, find freedom, discover their purpose, express their life in godly way. And the second part of the vision is what we do as small groups. Right now we are in 11 weeks of small group semester. We call them a fall small group semesters, and we have close to 25 small groups and all kinds of small groups that we do. And please go to our website, CJCLife.com/small groups. Look for the curriculum and look into it, and then please stop by during the week and connect with one of our small groups, and you will not going to forget the experience that you're going to have with the incredible team that we have. Thank you so much.